All righty. Good morning, everyone. I'll go ahead and share screen in a second. Just getting things ready here. But here's Ryan joining us. It's been a little while since I've run a live trading session, so I'm very excited, very grateful to be with all of you this morning. Though we hope that you know, I only step in under better circumstances in the future. We're sending our very best to Jerry. He sent in chat. He's someone in his family isn't well, so he's with them. And so we wish Jerry and his family the best. And I'm happy to have Ryan on here today as well. Maybe my mic isn't connected, guys. Give me a
I can
second
hear you
here. Oh, it
fine,
should be.
Andy.
Should be. You guys can hear me okay, right? Just
Yeah. Morning, Andy.
good morning, bro. So let me just see here.
Andy, I peeked at that first squawk on X because obviously the market's reacting to something.
Yeah.
I don't see anything of note, but I'm curious if there is some sort of tariff comment.
So let's jump in here, folks. Tomorrow, as we know, is the tariff D-Day. So, we're anticipating, and we saw some strange action yesterday, expecting that to continue a little bit through today, but we'll see. I'm still liking much more so. Let me zoom in. We have a lot of levels here, but I wanna if this candle close is above 555.99, we'll have a few minutes to just sort of talk about price action, talk about levels. For right now, this 556 flat, I just modified it 1 cent, is what I'm watching here. We have a beautiful touch on this 940 candle, as well as this low in pre-market. No, it's not the absolute pre-market low, which would be down here, but I'm assigning more value to this level here due to the increased number of touches and the more recent touch that we have here. As of resistance, we'll talk about what we have up here, and this can be modified a number of different ways, um, but we'll talk through it in detail after this candle close. It's getting bought back up now. Uh, so I won't quite pull up puts, but I would be looking for entry on puts on a 5 minute candle close below 556 flat. And you can see it's sort of messy in terms of resistance. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna call that the previous day high, that 559.42. I also have this pre-existing level, and I'll modify that to the top of that wick. And then, this isn't gorgeous down here, but let's see here. We're 20 cents away from this level. I'm not gonna pull anything up here. All right, so folks, this isn't the cleanest thing in the world, right? I have this 558.10 and we broke above that. Um, what I was thinking as we were watching pre-market play out and then that 9:30 to 10 a.m. price action, before we broke out here, I was thinking it would be, very nice if we could create that range from 9:30 to 10, but we broke above it and didn't follow through. Um, of course, a core reason as to why I like to wait until after 10 a.m. for entry is because I've identified a much lower probability of follow through on 5 minute candle closes above a clearly defined level of support or below a clearly defined level of support for puts um, before 10 a.m. So we saw that retrace back down. We're now just about retesting this level. And we could have some more touches here, but there's lots of action in pre-market down here. So I'm going to keep this at 556 flat. Like I said, not the cleanest thing in the world, but these are the levels that I view as being most clearly defined, and that is what I set out to do each and every day when I open up my charts. When I am just waiting for setups to present themselves, it's just reading into the story that's being told as best as we can, determining the levels that have been used the most number of times that offer us the most amount of clarity. And that's what we have. And again, this is all based on the 5 minute chart that you see on the left-hand side here. We have the 1 minute chart on the right-hand side, and any and all conviction, as well as key levels that I note, is based on the 5 minute. So let's see. We just flushed through this on an immediate test, and that's a pretty sharp flush. We'll see with 3 minutes left how this continues to trade and play out. Does it hold on to that pre-market low? Does it get bought back up in any capacity, or does this just flush? We got plenty of time. We'll be told, like I like to say, clearly and decisively. Ryan, you seeing anything different here?
No, I love it, man. I was just gonna say I love that wick touch right at 556.86. You can see it held as support and then it bounced as resistance.
Yeah,
Wick can use that to push down. It is a little volatile and it makes me just a little curious how, what's going to happen. That pre-market low, if that holds, I definitely think that it could still be in range. That I have it marked at 555.76, but I do like the draw below. Um, I think all the way down to potentially 553.04. So
yeah,
yeah, we can stay below that with a strong close below. I like that pre-market low to take puts.
cool.
It's making me a little nervous how it's moving, you know.
Yeah.
But
So it
I
got
love those
bought
levels.
back up on that 1 minute and now going for those lows again. So I am going to pull up the April 2nd 546 puts. Are currently priced at 162, and I'm going to be sized at normal size, which for me these days is 15% of my overall account with a 15% stop. And again, firm 5 minute candle close below 556 flat. I would also like to see it below, this pre-market low. If it snaps back up as it's starting to now, if it reacts enough, if it wants to hold on to that pre-market low, if it really wants to, in my mind, it's very unlikely that this would still be firm. So those two sort of conditions should align well. But we got 30 seconds left here, folks. The 546 puts for April 2nd. Pulled up. Buying here and filled at 156. Stop is going to be in at 137. I'm going to take my stop off here. And I'm going to look to sell half at 170, selling half here, filled at 174. Stop at break even. I'm going to not put that stop at break even and look to sell another quarter there at 178. And throwing my stop in here, folks, at 160.
Let's go.
So nice quick follow through there. We'll go, more than risk free. If we, I've taken 3/4 off there with my stop, 4 cents above break even. We'll see if we can get a nice flush here. I probably will look to sell full rather than trailing my stop, just because I'm not as much of a magician with trailing the stops as Jerry and maybe Ryan as well. So I'll look to sell the final piece here above 190. I want to see, I'd like to see another significant flush down. Let's see. We got to get through these highs that we set yesterday. You can see there's some chop here, but price is moving aggressively. Let's see what we get. Again, that stop is in place here, guys. For me at 160. I'll remove it if we break above 180. So no stress here. We're all good. Predetermined risk management takes care of the rest. Trying for new lows as we cross the 2 minute mark, seeing the contracts at 180. Let's see if we can make a sharp move below these lows. Taking my stop off here, folks. Seeing contracts at 188. Going to be looking for 192 to 195. Nice move below those previous highs. With 1 minute and 15 seconds left, the most important thing for me for continuation from a technical perspective is seeing firmness below there. Trying again. See if we can go for 554 flat. If going green for the week, guys, selling the last quarter at 185 here, 186, brings you green on the week, I'd recommend doing so for me. My worst case scenario here with my stop at 160 on this last quarter will bring me green on the week. So I'm fine letting this last quarter ride and just seeing what we can get. But you know, there's not much of a difference in terms of the overall trade if you get 185 or 195 on this last quarter. So this is trying to find some support here. Again, my stop is in at 160. We're about 5 cents away here. We're retesting that level that I noted at 554.84. You saw an immediate reaction. Let's see if we can continue to react sharply. And we've done so for the moment. So you see how that level, not that it matters at this point in the trade. right? It really doesn't. My risk management was predetermined, but I noted that level while we're in the trade just so that we can really understand as best we can what's going on. You saw it react very, very nicely there with that 1 minute turning red. We want to see that now follow through for us. Back to 185 on those contracts, 183. Still didn't quite want that flush. So we're having trouble right in this region here, which I'm really just seeing that wick. But again, I did mention there's choppiness in this region. We've now had after creating these lows, 1, 2, 3 attempts on the 1 minute to get bought back up. And we've reacted nicely. We now want to get that confirmation, get that sharp move below here. Let's see if we get it here. And these are the final 43, 42 seconds of this 5 minute candle. As I like to say, the final minute is the most significant. It determines the legacy of this candle, how it prints for the rest of the day. So we'd like to see this at the very least be a very weak green candle close. And with 20 seconds, it would, of course, would be nicer if we could get a flush below. Try. Did you take this entry, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Are you holding a little bit still?
I'm
Or are you
holding.
out?
I'm holding. Um, I think the way that you executed this was beautiful. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll let you finish this one off, bud.
All right, cool. Testing that 554. Now that it's been a little while, we're not seeing new highs in the contracts here. So let's see if we can get above 190 on these contracts. There we go. Let's see that. And I'm selling full here, team, at 190. Hold right there. You have 190 contractor sitting there, 191, 192. And this could certainly keep going, but I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with that.
Still the GOAT, Andy. That was the move. And I think if anyone can see how Andy manages his emotions throughout trades, especially as kind of chaotic as price moved here, he just, if you can learn how he's able to trust his levels, trust his risk management system, and just stick with his conviction, that's how you do it right there. That was awesome, man.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, and like I said, this level here ended up becoming significant and gave us clarity, right? It didn't bother me seeing those attempts up because I saw how we were continuing to react there. Um, but that doesn't make or break profitability, right? The most important piece was just staying true to the risk management system that I had committed to abiding by, and that's all I did. Uh, I controlled the setup that I took, right? At which point I took the entry, and then I controlled my risk management, meaning where my stop loss was and where I was going to take profit. We got a pretty quick move. Um, I got filled at 156, and I think within that same minute, I was able to get half off at 174. So that was a really nice first sell as well. How'd you guys do on that one? Do you see the setup? I know it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the cleanest thing in the world, but we had multiple confirmations of this level here, and we took out a lot of liquidity up here. Lots of people went long here on this big green candle, firm candle above this 558.10, and holding off until after 10 a.m. served us there, and we didn't quite get another reaction that the next time on this candle we really blew through it, but we were able to hold on firmly with the 5 minute candle close below 556 flat.
The other comment I was going to make, Andy, is you took entry and it was on the 1 minute chart was a green candle. And some people have been on my coaching sessions have been asking, why would you take entry on a green 1 minute candle? And I always say, you know, it's obviously it's a good point in the sense that if it's a green 1 minute candle, it's retracing, but that firmness and it's subjective, but that firmness has more to do with just like what's happening in the last minute. That the body of that 10:05 candle was longer than the wick, and also right as it closed, that green candle did wick down, and it was close, but it was right. Yeah, to me that was close, but definitely firm, even though it was a green 1 minute candle. So I'm glad you took entry on that because I think that it's one of the more common questions I get. And I haven't come up with a real good objective way to explain firmness because it's more than the body versus the wick, and it's more than where it is versus our key level. It's kind of I guess, an art form a little bit, and I was like right on the edge, and that last little move made it firm for me. So I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts
no,
on that with you, but
yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, Ryan. Um, because I can see why that last minute being green, and it was this one right here that can be troubling. I view it as a gift when a candle still is able to close firmly, but you're able to get a much better entry, right? If you had to take an entry somewhere around here, and if it closed right around here in the wick rather than up here while it's still firm, you're getting a discount. You're Because the conviction is the same regardless, right? If it closes down here and it's firm, or if it closes up here and it's firm, you have the same conviction. But the closer that it is to not being firm while it's still holding on to being firm, you're getting a better deal.
we gained 8 cents on that, right? Because I remember
Yeah.
it was at 164 at one point, and you got it at 156.
Yeah,
Well said. That's exactly how I try to explain it too. If it stays firm and it's kind of in that spot, still well below our key level, in the way I would describe it is you have that much more drawdown to where you think price could run into some buying pressure. So it's a
exactly.
discount. That's well said.
Right. We're certainly able to withstand a retest of 556 because we were able to get entry here.
Exactly. Beautiful move, Andy.
Yeah, yeah,
I
really
love how
nice
you
move.
executed that too. I think, keeping your stop loss at 160 versus moving it to break even with these conditions was such a good call because we were able to get so much more off that last sell. So
Right.
well done, man.
Thank you.
I don't have anything left to say. You nailed every piece of that.
Well, cool, folks. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're not in Graystone Premium Chat and you're just an accelerator, you can just respond to any message that's sent out in Graystone Premium Channel, and I'll see your message come through. Um, I'll also try to keep an eye on the Zoom chat if for whatever reason you can't figure out Telegram. So yeah, Scott said, Andy, were you not concerned with the pre-market low being right there? So good question. It's interesting. So Ryan just said that that last little push down is what did it for him, and I was the same way. In fact, 4 seconds left on the candle, definitely under 10 seconds. I was seeing, and I had noted 555.48. I needed to see like the bid and the ask under 555.48 at the time of the close in order to buy. But I also said that if it's most likely in my mind that if it reacts sharply enough, if it really is telling me that this is significant, this level matters, it's going to react enough to the point where this candle is not firm. Okay, does that make sense? So that did not happen. What we see here is still a firm candle, but it is showing that it's above, right? It shows that this body is at 555.51. I can't make sense of that because, like I said, with under 10 seconds left, I was seeing 555.48, maybe even 51. But at the close, I was seeing 42 on the ask and 40 on the bid, something like that. Maybe 44 on the ask, 42 in the bid. I was seeing the bid and the ask, which are the numbers up here, which are the real time transactions between buyers and sellers, and updates um, sort of before prices then reflected before a market price is actually created, because these are buyers and sellers and they create the market price. So that's what I watch, especially as we're getting down to the last couple seconds and if we're close. Um, so that's how I was thinking about pre-market low. This is really what I determined to be my pre-market low because I had more touches, but I'm still going to be mindful of that absolute low. And if it is that significant, if it's telling me it's that important, where it's going to sweep well below, it's going to not be a firm candle. It's going to get bought back up to at least something like here or here, all the way back up.
And I had 555.70 as my quote unquote pre-market low because you had
Mm-hmm.
that hammer candle just below. So the lowest body, so it definitely closed below the body of the pre-market low. And then you
Right.
had the prior candle, that wick was right at 555.70. And then you had the lowest body candle sweep below it and the successive candle sweep below it. But you had three touches there. So I had my, pre-market low at 555.70, even though it wasn't the absolute low.
Which
So it's
I like a lot. Which I like a lot. So guys, you see this is pretty beautiful. Uh Ryan marked this level right here as pre-market low. Similar to me in that he's not noting it down here. He's got many more touches here. He likes that exact wick touch. He likes how this is the lowest body and the wick sweeps below it. And this candle closed below that, right? So you can see how even the slight differences can oftentimes result in ultimately the same thesis. Looks like we got a really good exit. I guess it did come down to 67. I think I probably exited right around 80, but I did see, I think the contracts maxed out at 195 or 196. How'd you
You
guys
can
do
see,
on that one?
you can see current price action respecting that level now as resistance,
Mm, yes.
reconfirming it.
Yeah, and on the one hand, I was hoping that we would get lucky in that the first live trading session I'd have done in a while would be clean, and I could just have some time to go from the beginning and just walk everyone through price action and teach it step by step. And this was not completely textbook. But on the other hand, it now offers, I think, additional angles that we can look at this from. And like we just talked about with Ryan's pre-market low, and there's some additional angles that I think make this actually really helpful here today. And you can see how you can find great entries regardless of it not being a perfect and clean day of action from just focusing on what you can control. And you could have taken the same setup, or like Ryan said earlier, you could have taken a trade based on the 5 minute candle close below here, right? And taken that. Well, yeah, I don't. If you had a 15% stop, you would have been fine on this retracement. You would have gotten it even better move. So there were a couple different ways to trade this, even given how initially it didn't look super clean. But we still have some time here, so let us know any questions you may have. I see some questions on the bid and the ask, which doesn't surprise me. I know that's always that it offers intrigue, though I promise it isn't so significant. And I remember Ryan, actually, you and I talking about this. Um, don't place so much emphasis on it, but all it is that, and oftentimes when I'm looking to sell, I'm watching this before I'm watching this, before, because that's going to, the price of the contract is going to react to what I'm seeing here. And of course, this needs to hold. If this goes to 46 and then 36, right, and a second later it's at 56, this won't ever move down to 36. Right? It needs to hold and keep going. So it just helps me a little bit. And sometimes with something like this at the end of the candle, you can see the actual true price that buyers and sellers were transacting at in that moment, which, like I said, was actually 555.42 is what I was seeing, whereas the market hadn't moved to that price from what you were seeing on the chart. But again, all I'm watching is this when I say the bid and the ask. So that said, am I wanting to sell at market or bid or ask? If you're having trouble selling at bid, which is sort of the default, then you can totally sell at market. Lots of experienced folks even will sell at market. You may not get as good of fills at prices on those sells, but you're guaranteed to get that position off. And John said, so if the bid is higher than the ask, that's good. So no, in fact, the bid will always be lower than the ask. Um, so what I was just saying was that though this appears like it closed above 555.49, and it's possible I'm misremembering. We can look at the recording, but I was watching the bid and the ask as I'm getting ready to hit buy on Weeble, and it was lower. Both of them, both the bid and the ask, they're always just going to be 1 or 2 or 3 cents apart. Were lower than 555.50 or 49, which is the low here. It was at 42 and 44. Coach, you said what made you think there would be buying pressure below 554.84? I thought that there could be at that level. Okay. We have three touches here, and it just served as a price in which SPY was unable to break above. You see a nice test here and equal highs on these candles, right? Really serving as just a level of resistance. And then we broke through it here, and that's when I noted it. And as we retested, as this was getting bought back up and we weren't seeing continued follow through, and the price of our contracts was coming back down to, plus 10% or so, plus 5%, I was comfortable with that price action as long as we continued to hold below this, right? So in the same way that we used it as resistance here, I just wanted to see it used as resistance here, and we did. So I didn't know that it would stop here. I didn't know anything. I don't know anything. The market can do whatever it wants, right? I'm just reading it in real time and assessing what is probable to happen. But don't get me wrong, I'm not in the business of making predictions. I'm in the business of assessing probabilities and positioning myself in such a way that if I'm right a little bit more than I'm wrong, I can make a little bit of money, and I can do that day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month after month. David said, Andy or Ryan, reading through Trading Bible as we speak, are there different time frames, the 1 minute versus 5 minute versus 50 minute, when the action or candles are further confirmations for entry while using resistance and support as the driver? And then another question, is a doji candle or a bullish engulfing when you see it on the 1 minute versus the others more or less important? Ah, okay. So that's really the question, I guess. Any and all conviction that I have to enter trades is based on the 5 minute chart. And it's not based on something on whether a candle is a doji candle or a hammer candle. It's based on whether the 5 minute candle closes firmly above resistance or below support. So that is the most important piece, and it's on the 5 minute. Is understanding what a reversed hammer candle looks like, right? And understanding what doji candles look like, is that can it be helpful? Yes. But conviction is exclusively based on firmness and in how price is reacting and closing around key levels. Ryan, would you answer that differently or add anything? Ooh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was just going to say I totally agree with what Andy said. I think, the 5 minute chart's a foundational chart that I read. What I will say is that when the 1 minute chart structure aligns with the 5 minute, I gain more conviction. The 15-minute chart, I'll take a peek at, just to kind of understand, are those key levels that we see in the 5 minute chart confirmed on the 15 minute? I don't, to be honest, I don't look at that as much as I used to. But when they're all aligned, meaning that if we can get key levels that align on the 15 minute and the 5 minute, and then the market structure on the 1 minute matches 5 minute, it just gives me that much more conviction. But the only other time that I would use the 1 minute chart is if price is moving so quickly in candles that distribute kind of like this one is right now. The 1 minute chart can be helpful to understand what price action's doing within a 5 minute candle. And so that's how I use the 1 minute chart. Sometimes I'll use the 1 minute chart to try to identify, when is price going to be changing directions. But yeah, the 5 minute chart's still the foundational chart that I use, certainly
Yeah.
for entry.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I will look at the 1 minute as well, especially once I'm in a trade. Like we were seeing here, right? We had just kind of seen this floor establish itself, and you were able to see that certainly on the 5 minute as well, right? You saw it with these two candles, and actually it really served as the low, three equal lows there.
I
But
was watching the 1 minute chart. as like I had my 5 minute chart move to the left, watching those highs, and I kept my eye on the current price action on the 1 minute chart, and it literally was bouncing off those highs as it moved through that level, and then the next high, and then the next high. And I was watching the 1 minute chart. It was literally reacting right off of those highs. And so, did that necessarily change how I executed it? Not necessarily, because we kept holding those levels, but I was using the 1 minute to see how price was reacting off of the previous key levels. And that was helpful to kind of understand price action for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I see Bob in Zoom chat said, "What range are you looking for with the buy and sell numbers right before the candle close?" I look to trade contracts anywhere in the range of 130 to 170. Those are the contracts that I find to move most favorably. And that's really all I look for. If there's something in the 130s and the 160s, which I think is what we had today, I'll take the more expensive ones. They allow for a little bit more retracement, and I probably um uh what's the economic term I'm looking for? There's a trade-off associated with that where I'm trading off probably a little bit more profitability and speed in the cheaper contracts that would move more intensely in my favor, but they would also move more intensely when price moves against me. And so I exchange uh, the contracts moving a little bit more slowly to um, just de-risk a little bit. So even in those micro decisions for me, I'm risk averse, right? As a trader, and as a person, I'm fairly risk averse, and my micro decisions will always, I always think from a first principles perspective, and if I'm making any sort of decision, it has to go through the lens of how can I mitigate risk? How can I minimize my worst case scenario and clearly define it with something that I'm comfortable with and continue as I'm taking profit to mitigate that further and further. Right. So stop at break even. And then after the next sell, stop above break even. And then we're risking at that point just profit. How much profit on that last quarter? Right. So risk is always going down. As we're putting dollars into our pocket, our risk, our downside is being decreased. So let's see here. This is interesting. We've ripped above these highs, and I wasn't watching in real time because I was explaining that. I don't really think we reacted to that. Maybe we did at some point throughout that 1 minute. But let's see if these highs are respected.
And yeah, I didn't take entry on this either, but that 555.70 level, you can
Yeah.
see you draw it right at that. Um, so yes, so if you slide that down just to that last candle, it reacted that red doji candle reacted and then it closed. It was a couple cents, but it was right above it, and you can see the
Yeah.
move afterwards. I was really close, but I'm like that'd be I was borderline over trading at that point. We had such a beautiful move, but that would have been a pretty good entry in my opinion,
Right.
if we hadn't taken that put.
Right.
And you can see the other thing that I look for too, how did price move through that range? All those red candles,
Bang.
I saw that draw being beautiful all the way up to the high of the day in current market, and that would have been gorgeous. You never know for sure, but that would have been the second setup I would have taken if we hadn't had your beautiful put move.
What wonderfully said. Very, very important point. It's similar to what I said before. How did price move the last time we were in that region, right? It formed this sort of broad range yesterday afternoon, right? And if we wanted to define it, you could do something like this, right? And then we have that high there or something like this. Point is, it ranged throughout, this period of the day, 11:45 through 2 p.m. It was in this range, and that's what we had from here down to here. It was choppy. What Ryan is saying is, look at the last time we got above that 550, 570, right? We held on to it as support, right? And then the last time that we went through all these red candles, now that we've broken above on this candle close right here, we're going to see that similar sort of action on the other side. Anything else, folks, while you have Ryan and I here?
I am going to be on at 2 p.m. I see there was a question, so I do have my coaching call at 2.
Okay,
We'll get back
cool.
at it.
Amazing. Incredible. I, I just have to say, guys, it really is a great pleasure for me to step in. Like I said, we only hope that it's under better circumstances moving forward. But it's a joy for me to come and step in when I have the opportunity to do so. And I'm just very grateful for all of you for what we've built together, for having the opportunity to have people like Jerry, like Ryan, like Lindsay, like Louie, like Thomas, and so many of you, um, not only who have done incredibly well, but who are just even at the beginning stages of your journey and just taking action. I really have a lot of gratitude for that because most people do not. And you never know how long it may take. And we have a tremendous amount of these success stories of people like Ryan who in year one did incredibly well, right? And even with that, like everyone that does incredibly well very quickly, like Ryan and like Jerry, still have those initial few months where maybe you do really well and then you go through a big learning period where you don't do well and that creates the foundation and then you go on and you're off to the races. But there's other folks. I was chatting with one of the first 200. He was definitely one of the first 200 students we had. He joined at the end of 2022, which is probably very similar to you, Ryan. Um, so he's in that class of Graystone students, and it's really been in the last 6 to 8 months. He's now earning $60,000 a month on average over the last bunch of months. Um, I could read out. I mean, it was pretty incredible. Um, his best day was $38,000 while he was in Europe. His best week was $72,000. Though he said he'd call those truly unique, his average months have been $60,000 plus the past few months. And he's been at. I mean, he joined at the end of 22. We're now in 2025. So if we say that, right, he started to hit his stride 6 months ago, halfway through 24. It was 2 years. And like I've said and Jerry has said, is 2 years tough of just day after day without getting the outcome that you set out to achieve that maybe you thought you could get in 6 months or a year? That can be challenging. On the flip side, is it anywhere near 4 years of undergraduate, and then for people like doctors, 4 years of more school after that, and then an internship, and then residency, and decades before you're earning dramatically less income than what this gentleman is earning? It's still by far dramatically better than what I would see as any other income generating opportunity. But he still had to delay gratification in such a way that each and every day that it's not working is tough. And I guarantee he wanted to quit many times. And you never know when you're on the 1 yard line. And the only way to ensure that you win is by not quitting. The only way to ensure that you win is by not quitting. And if you don't quit, then you will win. You can't control when, you can't control the day, but you can control the inputs. You can control what you do every day and your attitude. Those are the pieces that you have control over. Right. And I really hand it to him. two plus years. Still making progress. Still making progress, and then just found his stride. $60,000 a month. Ryan, how with all the tariff mania since February, how have you done?
Uh, it's been one of my better stretches in a while. You know, there was that stretch, I think it was leading up to the election, September, October. I think price action was really difficult. We saw support and resistance form, and when we would get, what looked like beautiful setups, firm closes, price tended to retrace back into range. And I had to make some modifications to my strategy. Uh, those were the two, probably since December of 2023. Those were the two toughest months I've had. I still was green, but it was a battle. After the election, price started behaving a little bit more typically. Um, Took a lot of calls in December, obviously, and in early January, same thing. And since you know, everything that's happened with the Trump administration, kind of had to flip the script. And obviously, we've been in a retracement in the market. But what the beautiful thing about trading options is it doesn't matter which way the market's going. You find a range, and if price respects key levels and it closes above or below support and resistance, and it distributes down, you can make a lot of money, even though investors are probably a little nervous right now. But I did extremely well. Um, I came just short of my February of 2024, um, and March was near a record for me. Um, so it's been good, and that's the beauty of trading options. You can play both sides of the market.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's an incredible luxury, not holding risk overnight, not being beholden to the inevitable wild moves and changes in underlying macro conditions that for people that can what's
Spring
going
break,
on,
I got a little
buddy?
visitor here.
How we doing? No school today?
It's spring break for Max
Oh,
and his
amazing.
sister. So
Amazing. So Max, you get to spend more time with your dad during spring break.
he knew I was talking to Andy, so he had to sneak down and say hi.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's great to see you, Max, and everyone in the Graystone family loves you and sends their best. You guys do anything fun for spring break?
Well, he got to see his new cousin, who's less than 2 months old. We went to visit him over the weekend,
Oh, awesome.
and then yeah, I'm still technically working, and so get to keep him home with his sister today, and then he's probably gonna go to daycare tomorrow. But we'll find some fun stuff to do, right, buddy?
So you're still working, huh?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that? I know you do
yeah,
extremely well and you love it, right? Or do
yeah.
you love it?
I do. Yeah, yeah, so this could be a whole separate conversation. Maybe we could do a podcast about this, but I work in prostate cancer, and we make an incredible difference for a lot of people. I do have an exit plan. I want to get to the point where my profits from trading can go into a fund where, through investments and other things, probably through your father, um, is doubling my annual salary. I'm fortunate enough. I make, I guess I'm not anywhere compared to some people. Make a good amount of money. We're doing what I do, and I love it. But that does create, times I have to travel, be away from this guy and his sister and his mom and stuff. So if I can get to the point where, we take care of the fun stuff, we've done a lot of fun stuff with the money. Um, but then we can get it into an investment thing where, with very minimal clicks per month can replicate that times two. I'll probably step out. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it, brother.
Andy, I'm gonna jump. I do have
Cool.
a call in 4 minutes.
Go
So
ahead. Go ahead, my man.
well done. And yeah,
Thank
this
you.
was
Appreciate you
awesome.
being
Thanks for
on.
letting me tag along. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
it's always
course.
a
All right,
pleasure,
man.
my man.
Thanks, everybody.
Alrighty.
I'll be
Have
on
a
at
good
2
one.
p.m.
See you, Max.
So, all right. Thanks.
Bye.
Ryan's a gem, isn't he, folks? Alrighty, folks, I gotta run it in a couple minutes here. Please, anything you guys would like me to walk through or anything that you're curious about whatsoever, I'm all yours. So whatever it may be, just drop it in chat or yeah, really anything at all. Alrighty, no questions. So I guess we did a good job of explaining the action, right? Okay. What are some other stocks that people trade? Some folks in the community will trade QQQ, which is the Nasdaq ETF, which moves most similarly to an asset like SPY. It will move quicker. It is more volatile, so price will move quicker. And for me, especially over the last bunch of years, 100% of my trades have been SPY. So 555.70 was Ryan's pre-market low. And again, neither he nor I would determined 550 not 555.49 as the absolute low because we had more touches. So Ryan determined it here. He had a touch here. He had a touch here. He had a touch here. And these three candles, he felt that was really that support level for pre-market. And this level specifically got him the most number of touches. He got 3 touches there, right? Could do something like that as well. But he liked the low of that wick. So it's just a little bit of nuance in determining, okay, do I go all the way down here as my pre-market low, or do I go where I have more touches? Similarly to here, is this my previous day high, or does this actually tell a much better story, a much clearer and trusting story, right? That's kind of the way I see it. I trust it more because I see 4 candles here consecutively try to trade above and close just below 559.42. I trust this story much more than saying that this is previous day high. Does that make sense? That just came to me on the spot. I've never referred to it as trusting, but that's really how I see it. Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to jump here. Let me know if you guys found today's session valuable and have an awesome rest of your Tuesday. I had an awesome time with you guys today, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Alrighty, so have a great one, and we'll talk soon. Take care.